Whenever we pop a pill, we just kind of trust a final product, right? But in this explainer, we're going to entirely bypass that finished pill. We're diving straight into the hidden, highly strategic chemical stages that literally make global healthcare possible.
Okay, so let's think about what actually happens before the medicine is made. I mean, everyone knows what a pill is, and hey, some of you might even know about the active pharmaceutical ingredient, the API, which is the actual chemical doing the healing. But there's this absolutely crucial, pretty much invisible step right in the middle of that creation process, and honestly, it rarely gets talked about.
To really grasp this, I want you to think of drug manufacturing in 3 distinct phases. It's a journey, transitioning from raw-based chemicals all the way up to that final, complex healing molecule. First, it starts with the key starting material, or KSM. Then, it moves into the intermediate phase. And finally, it becomes the active pharmaceutical ingredient.
Our core focus today is that middle step, the intermediate. And, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a partially reacted chemical compound. Think of it as the half-built stage of chemical synthesis, sitting smack dab in the middle between the raw starting material and the finished API.
Actually, let's look at this using an analogy we can all understand. Legos. Because it's a lot like building a giant puzzle. If the key starting material is your very first box of raw, unorganized Lego bricks, and the API is the finished, totally awesome castle, then the intermediate, that's the half-built tower sitting right there on your table.
So in this whole chemical hierarchy, the intermediate is kind of in a state of chemical limbo. It's no longer just raw material in a box, but it is definitely not yet a finished product that you can safely put into a medicine capsule. It is entirely a work in progress.
Now, in the actual API industry, this isn't just some theoretical textbook concept. In reality, each intermediate step usually happens in its very own separate reactor batch. And because it's a totally distinct batch, it comes with its own specific yield, its own strict purity rules, and, super importantly, its very own cost base.
And this is exactly where intermediates give companies a massive competitive edge. There's this strategy called backward integration. Basically, by manufacturing their own intermediates in-house instead of buying them from external suppliers, manufacturers can firmly control their production costs and dictate their overall process yield. A prime example of this, RD Drugs. They actually built their Sayaka facility specifically to supply their own intermediates internally. That's a real game changer because it frees them up from the vulnerabilities of relying on overseas supply chains.
So, you see, mastering the intermediate isn't just about chemistry. It's really about controlling the very foundation of the global supply chain, the whole shebang. So the next time you're looking at a medicine bottle in your cabinet, ask yourself, who actually built the intermediate chemical towers that hold your healthcare together?